Today I'm coming at you with a little bit of a different video than usual, but I'm going to show you one of the components of our van that I've been meaning to make a video on for a little bit. Excuse my voice and my nasally sound. I've been sick for a little while, so trying to get over that. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about our MINISPLIT air conditioner that is mounted on the back of our van. So originally when I built this van, I was not planning on putting an air conditioner on. Typically I just don't like to travel in areas that I would need one. It's a pretty big expense to add one. A lot of different reasons went into that. Anyways, ended up being in Florida for a while, and Florida gets very hot, so had to come up with a solution. So what I ended up doing is installing a MINISPLIT air conditioner with a heat pump. The reason for this is that my roof rack would be quite difficult to modify to accommodate a rooftop air conditioner, and with the solar panels and everything I have up there, it could have been done, but it would have been a lot of work. Also, to get a good efficient rooftop AC unit is very expensive, so those are the reasons led me not to go with a rooftop unit. So I also looked into like the portable air conditioners that you can get at Lowe's or Home Depot, but they're not very efficient and they're very loud. The other option is a window unit. I just didn't really have a good window that I could use that in. So then I really started looking into these MINISPLIT systems. So they are fairly affordable compared to the rooftop units, and the outdoor unit can be mounted in multiple different areas, and the back of our van doesn't really have much on it other than a ladder. So I thought I definitely could mount it on the back door. So all of those reasons helped me to decide that the MINISPLIT would just kind of be the best option for this van. This video is not an install video, it's just basically what I've done and how it's working for me so far. So there's a lot of MINISPLIT units out there, different brands, sizes. So I ended up going with the SENVILLE 9000 BTU 110 volt unit. I bought it directly from SENVILLE's website, and their shipping was very quick, nothing to complain about there. And then I bought the mounting brackets for the door off of Amazon. So this unit is definitely overkill for the size of the van. It's rated for about 400 square feet, and obviously the van is way less than that. The idea there is that because it's cooling such a small space, it won't have to run as much as if it was cooling its max capacity or 400 square feet. Therefore, hopefully not using as much battery capacity. So when it is on the air conditioner mode and is cooling the van, it pulls about 1000 watts. So that's quite a bit. And if it was to run constantly, that would drain the batteries very quickly. But again, because it's oversized, it cools off the van fairly quickly. And then it's got a thermostat in it, so it will just kick on every so often when it needs to bring the van down to temperature again. But the more important feature that has been really useful on this device is it's got an evaporator in it. So it's actually pulling all of the moisture out of the air. So especially in Florida where it's very humid, it would dry out the inside of the van very quickly. And even if it just pulled the moisture out, it would feel so much better in there, even if you didn't have the cooling function on. So all that being said, I never really needed to turn the air conditioner down super cool to feel comfortable in there, because it turns it into a dry heat. So I was usually setting it at around 82 or 84 overnight, and that it actually felt like cold in there. And of course, you're kind of comparing to what the temperature is just right outside, but it was really nice. Overnight, it would really only kick on the air conditioner probably around 4 or 5 times. But the evaporator runs overnight, which draws barely any power. So during the time that I was doing that, it was drawing my whole battery bank down to 50% overnight, and my battery bank is 200 amp hours of lithium batteries. Ideally, when you design a battery system, it's not super great to draw them below 80% with all of your use. So this is not optimal or ideal, but again, I didn't design the van for it, and I was just trying to find something that would work without any major modifications to the van. And during the summer months, I could charge up that 50% in one day. So I was making it work, but not by much. But all that being said, I was basically getting air conditioning overnight every night from my solar system. That is not super massive. Again, I have 200 amp hours of lithium and 420 watts of solar. So now I will show you a little bit how I installed it and what it looks like now. Okay, so coming from the back of the van, this is what the outdoor portion of the mini split looks like. It looks a little big, but it's not horrible. I feel like it could have been worse, but I also feel like it could have been a little bit better. Just kind of give you the side angle, all the angles here. Both the outdoor and the indoor unit are extremely quiet. Honestly, you can barely hear this thing when it's running, which is amazing. Especially, I mean, just for the aspect of sleeping in there, and then also for stealth camping and whatnot. You can run this just about anywhere, and I mean, you don't really know it's running unless you're within like 10 feet of it. So as you can see, I have these wall mounting brackets, and I have a little piece of rubber back here just to help minimize any vibrations, even though there's not much. But there is bolts that come up under here, 2 on each side that bolt the outdoor unit to these brackets, and then there's 4 bolts that bolt the brackets to the van. Now this is just sheet metal here, so at first I just had it mounted to that, but that just wasn't enough structure to keep it from moving. But now that I sturdied it up, it does not move. It moves the whole van when you try and shake that thing. So I feel pretty good about it going over bumpy roads and on the highway and everything. It doesn't move anywhere. I can show you a picture of how I ended up sturdying up the brackets to the van door. It's a bit covered up right now with the sheet of plywood. Basically, I cut out a sheet of 1/2-inch birch plywood that fit the shape of the hole in here, and then I glued that to the metal, and then I took a piece of 1/8-inch angle iron and made 2 holes in both the left and the right side of the door in the shape of the angle iron. I pressed it up snug to the plywood and then slid it in each side of the door where it's more structural, and that made the whole unit be extremely sturdy. So the weight of the unit is tied into these more structural parts of the door on either side versus just the thin sheet metal of the door. Before we move inside, you'll see that the power cables here, one is power to this unit, and then one is a communication and power to the indoor unit. So that's what those are. And then these are the 2, there's just 2, this one just isn't covering it, but the 2 refrigerant lines, one here, and then I just have them wrapped. Then you can kind of see there where they enter the van, so that it came with that entry port right there. Obviously, because the door is on a hinge, I had to find something that would be flexible and be able to bend with the door. I ended up finding some flexible refrigerant lines, which I'll leave in the description below if you're interested in looking at them. I believe these ones were 3 feet long. So basically, they are connected right in here. This is just hard line connection right here, and then the flexible portion runs through the entry point, and then I think they're connected right in here or something. So the majority of the flex is right in here, and then up on the top there, it's secured to the cabinet. So there's a little bit of movement, but not enough that I'm worried that that pipe is being damaged or anything. So as you can see, I basically just zip tied the communication and power line to the refrigerant lines, and they're just wrapped so that they don't drip condensation, and insulated because they get very cold while it's running. Christmas lights are kind of wrapped in there. So they just run all the way across and then through the left-hand upper cabinet. So I actually have the outdoor unit power comes in here, runs into a hole into the cabinet here, and then inside this cabinet there's a GFCI outlet that powers the outdoor unit, which is obviously tied into the inverter. So this is what the indoor unit looks like. I did end up having to build a little wood bracket to hold it against the wall, because when I was installing it, the little plastic clips that hold the unit itself to the metal bracket broke, and I just didn't have time to get a new part. So I just quickly made this wood bracket that holds it real tight to the wall. So obviously the 2 refrigerant lines, and then the communication cable, and then the clear tube here is the drain line for the evaporator. So all the water that's sucking out of the air gets drained through this, and then this just kind of comes down through our bed. It's a little bit hard to see, but it runs down along the side through the corner, out a hole, just onto the ground. The unit is controlled by remote, and you can switch between the heating, cooling, or just the dry mode, which is just basically running the evaporator, or just a basic fan. So I'll just go ahead and turn it on so you can just hear how quiet it is and see the functions of it. So remote, just hit on, turns on, just kind of does its on cycle. So it's just on fan mode right now. So this is the fan on full speed. So now I will turn it on to heat mode, because it's a little chilly out, and go outside and show you how quiet the outdoor unit is. So here we go, just outside. Just showing you how quiet the outdoor unit is. It's a little bit windy outside. I mean, if you can hear it. It's basically just a little fan running, and that's all you can hear. I'm about 10-12 feet away now. Should be quiet. And you can barely hear it. Barely hear it. So that's that. I didn't talk about the heating function of the unit very much, because I didn't really intend on using it, at least off-grid, very much, because the heating unit actually pulls a little bit more power than the cooling unit does. And in the winter, there's not as much sun, and I just knew that it wasn't going to be the most efficient way to heat. And that's why we have a diesel heater for typical day-to-day use. But if we ever have a place that we can plug in, then we could definitely use the mini-split for heating purposes as well. So a little bit of a quirky setup, but definitely gets the job done off-grid, which is the goal. Overall, it works pretty well. Just wanted to drop on here and show you the system, how it works, and how it's been working for us. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments down below, and I will answer them as best as I can. That's about it. Ciao.